Another school shooting, this time claiming 17 lives, at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Broward County, Florida. And you have politicians, evangelical Christian politicians, giving their thoughts and prayers. You have President Trump talking about how the school could have done more, and maybe the school could have. But nobody is talking about why we are having a weapon of mass destruction, an AR-15, a weapon made to kill as many people as short amount of time possible. This is an evil weapon. But yet, Christian leaders, both in politics and out of politics, say that it's the fallen nature of man that is causing this. You take prayer out of school, and what do you expect will happen? Now, I am an evangelical Christian. I believe that man is fallen, and I believe the AR-15 is a prime example of how far man has fallen in his lack of love for his fellow human being and for God. A state senator here in my state of Wisconsin said that even if a ban on semi-automatics like the AR-15 would save like 15 Wisconsinians' lives, which he supported, and she said no because of freedom. And then I'm wondering, what would God say now? And I think I know, not because God speaks to me, but I mean, God does speak to all of us through his word. But I think this is what God would say to Franklin Graham, who is saying that it's violent video games, it's lack of prayer in public schools, things like that that's bringing this on. Like there's mass shootings in secular Western Europe or Japan. But this is what I think God would say. When you spread your hands in prayer, I hide my eyes from you. Even when you offer many prayers, I am not listening. Your hands are full of blood. Wash and make yourselves clean. Take your evil deeds out of my sight. Stop doing wrong. Learn to do right. Seek justice. Defend the oppressed. Take up the cause of the fatherless. Plead the case of the widow. These politicians are not pleading the cause of the fatherless or pleading the cause of the widow. In fact, their inaction, their support of these lax gun laws are creating more fatherless, creating more widowers and widows and childless couples. Can you imagine those who have lost children and other loved ones yesterday? And why? Why? Because, again, Isaiah 1. Your rulers are rebels, partners with thieves. They all love bribes and chase after gifts. They do not defend the cause of the fatherless. The widow's case does not come before them. Justice. If you read the Bible, if you read the prophets, it's all about justice. And you may say, well, we're living in a new covenant. The Old Testament doesn't apply to us. It applies only to the Jews. Well, if you love Jesus, you will follow God's teachings. And God's teachings is in the prophets. The NRA has bought politicians. The NRA is the gun manufacturing lobbying arm. And so I'm sick of so-called evangelical Christians bowing down before the gun like the ancient Israelites bowed down before the golden calf. We, the true remnant, we, the evangelical Christians, the true lovers of God, those who cry out for justice, those who thirst for an end of violence, we must stand up. We must have our voices heard and say enough is enough. Wash your hands clean of your bloodshed. The Bible's very clear. You live by the gun, you die by the gun. As Jesus said, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. But yes, Jesus said, if you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one. Then one of the disciples said, well, we have 2. That is enough. 2 swords for 12 people. And then later that week, when Peter attacked the chief priest's slave's ear, Jesus said, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. We're living by the gun, and we're dying by the gun. And the evangelical apostate right doesn't care. God bless.